Arsenal beat Wolves to remain in the title race and put themselves back top of the league. Now, despite recent losses, this was a much needed win and some of the players really stepped up, with the best player on the day being Declan Rice. But why was Declan Rice so effective and how was this him stepping up to make the team better? Let's get into it. Now, I think overall we can all admit that Declan Rice has been insane this season. I think recently, even in the games where Arsenal haven't played brilliantly, I think he's still held himself and been very good. Of course, he's made some mistakes, but overall he's probably been one of our best players this season, has been an excellent signing. But against Wolves, when him and a lot of the midfield and attack are very tired, the team aren't at it again because of the amount of work they've been putting in recently, I think he really stepped up and especially in the second half really showed what he is capable of. Now in this game, and Declan Rice as a player I really like because I like how he fills out the game before he decides to do anything really drastic. At the start he was very comfortable on the ball but was just trying to feel out if Wolves were going to press or how they were sort of going to attack the defence. This allowed him to make a lot of passes and influence the play, but he was mostly just being a bit safe with it, trying to work with the defenders to get the ball in more promising positions so other players can come up with it. And obviously without the inclusion of Jorginho or Thomas Partey from the start, he was mostly at the 6 role by himself, playing a lot more deeper and being able to sweep up the ball and make sure the tackles came in as well. And because Arsenal managed to bypass the early press by the front three from Wolves, they often weren't really in play, and Arsenal actually had in the first half the Wolves team where they wanted them. They were very much pinned back into their own box and had all their players having to be there to help. This allowed players like Jesus, Odegaard, Saka and Havertz to make the runs, with obviously trossard doing it as well, but also people like Kivior and Ben White could create that overlap in instance if some of them players want to be a bit deeper. This allowed a lot of space just outside the box, and Declan Rice, even though obviously he's playing as the 6, because they're so pressed up and pushed up the pitch, he can actually get into these elevated positions. And there was a few times that he found him just at the edge of the box, and he obviously had that one in the first half which just went wide, which I think he probably should do better from, but it's good positioning and I like the tactics we used in this position. But it was strange because Wolves didn't pick this up, and there was actually a few times where it kept coming to Rice just down the outside because obviously all our team have pushed the other team back and they were marking their individual players. This gave Rice a lot of space, and I think he usually used that really brilliantly, having the ingenuity to keep away from the defenders and keep in a position where he can make good passes and get a shot away. And Declan Rice is just so versatile because I think in the first half he really was the guy for Arsenal that was pushing the ball forward and making sure we could have this sustained possession. There were so many times where we were getting pressed right back and we necessarily couldn't get the ball out, and you give it to Declan Rice and he just runs with it and pushes forward, going past defenders and giving Arsenal an attacking chance. And we know he can do these runs. We saw it later in the game where his position changed, which we'll get into, but we also saw it when he can play as that 6, pushing the team up the field, and you don't really rely and you don't really expect him to go and lose the ball because of his position, and quite smart with it. He doesn't do risky passes if he feels like it's not necessary. And there's obviously loads of talk about Thomas Partey, there's loads of talk about Jorginho, about their deep line playmaking that they can do, but Declan Rice can also do it to a brilliant level, which I don't think he gets credited for personally enough. In this game he made 10 passes into the final third and ultimately made 55 of his 61 passes at a 90% completion rate, having created 5 chances throughout the game. And for someone that was playing as a 6, I know later on he moved into a bit of an 8 role and that's where some of the chances were created. That's a really good chance creation for him. He was really dictating play and making sure he could control what is going on, especially when we do play this system and Odegaard isn't really coming back to progress the ball. We kind of reverted back to our old one where Odegaard plays a lot more further forward to push the other team back, while obviously having Havertz and Jesus be further forward more as like a front 2. So Declan Rice had to do a lot of work in this game, and considering he's played 3,824 minutes this season and played 46 games in all competitions, that is a major achievement to be able to run around and still play to this high level, and he worked his arse off yet again in this game. And while he was in that 6 defensive midfield role, he also did brilliant defensive work, making 2 out of his 4 tackles but making 5 defensive actions, 2 recoveries, and he was only dribbled past once. He was very solid in there, and while we were making mistakes in the first half, he was someone that was pretty assured back there and was not making them, also winning the majority of his duels as well. But probably the most interesting thing about this game was later on when Thomas Partey came on in the 80th minute and ended up playing around 15 to 16 minutes with the team. Now personally this changed a lot of midfield dynamics that I think Arsenal needed before this, because he came on for Jesus. This meant that Havertz moved into that striker position. Obviously Martinelli had came on at this point, and Rice was able to be the 8 while Partey covered for the Rice position. And not only do I think this really helped Martin Odegaard, I think Martin Odegaard played a lot better after this. He was able to go up and be in the positions that he wanted to. It made our team so much better because Declan Rice was so much more influential going forward. Now I don't think this is the long-term solution for Arsenal. Next season we should buy someone for this position. Right now this has to be definitely the way we go. Declan Rice was able to find the mid spaces and the right half spaces where he could run and drive with the ball. Later on in the game he still had the engine injured to keep doing this, which was unbelievable, but he was doing it into more attacking sense, and Wolves could not defend this. He was coming from deep and picking up these spots in midfield, while also when Wolves did have the ball, he was being pressed tightly on that left side, making sure that he could get the ball and making sure Partey's behind him, so he could be a bit more aggressive in his challenging because he also had that cover there. And Rice is one of them players that is so technically good and so good at football that he can actually do so many different roles. He made sure that he kept making these runs over and over again. There was many times where we would just boot the ball up the field to get it out. Havertz would knock it down, Thomas Partey would pass it over, and Rice, Martinelli would be running already, trying to make sure that they could get the ball and get closer to the goal. And this worked really well. Partey did some really good passes to Rice, and it worked as their duo in midfield. And this pretty much is the reason why I think Arsenal were a lot better later on and got the second goal that won us the game in the end. Thomas Partey was keeping people around him. There was a lot of players that wanted to be close to him because obviously his great passing abilities, and they probably think with his rustiness maybe you can get a few players on him and win the ball back. This allowed Rice to go upfield, and when Wolves needed a goal they sort of pushed a bit more, and there was often a lot of spaces in between the lines where Rice would pick up the ball, run, and in the end that created our second goal, passing off to Havertz to Odegaard to go into the net. This also helped us later on in the game with Martinelli. I think he got the ball a lot more with Rice there, and I think Rice's passing and individual ability to play two different roles in this game to an exceptional level and also make the team better when he moved up makes him my shout for the man of the match, and he did end up getting it in the end. And of course Wolves didn't have the best team out and they didn't play the best, but they couldn't really create anything when we've got the brilliant defenders and midfield that we had on the day, and I think our midfield improved heavily later on in the game, but Rice was always a very good prominent figure of the team. His drive ability with the ball is very key to this team, and he's so good at going forward that I can understand playing him as an 8 and maybe getting a 6 in, although he is still an exceptional 6, probably one of the best in the world. There's a few things in this game where it's really encouraging to see. The fact that he has been in front of players a lot of the time, and then he moves backwards, identifying where the pass is going to come to and where he can get the best angle to win the ball back, and this helps us break very quickly. He is more of like an aggressive centre midfielder when he plays there, and then as an 8 he is very much more cautious but still is very vital, and I like how he changes his play style up so much that he can be a versatile player and brilliant in both positions, being different roles as well. Now tomorrow I'm going to be doing a video where I talk about Thomas Partey's role in this game and how I think he probably should be starting at this point. I think we need to start him for the remaining games just to make sure we do get these wins that I think that we can, because I do think it was a little bit touch and go in this game at times, especially with the midfield composition and how it works with Odegaard as well. But that doesn't take away from how good Declan Rice is, how good he was in this game yet again. We could talk about how good he has been all season. Before we even signed for Arsenal, I did a video on him, and all season I've been talking about he has been influential and he's really key to this team. And let's hope he doesn't get injured, because that's really important. He's played so many minutes this season, and next year we're going to have him to do the same things. And I would argue for £100 million he has arguably been quite a big bargain for Arsenal, and is the reason why we are better than last season. I think individually, hopefully we can get enough to win the league, and I still don't think it's over by any stretch of means, so hopefully we can continue this up in the Chelsea game on Tuesday. Let me know if you enjoyed this video by liking and subscribing, and let me know what your thoughts in the comments are. If you liked this video, please go and watch my video today, or earlier today I should say, and if not, I'll see you in the next one.